Okay, hi everyone. My name is Monique. I am the producer and also founder of Simple Robotics, and welcome to the Iyanu Holiday Livestream. In this panel, we're going to be taking you inside the writer's room, and we're going to talk about the story, the characters, and the mythology around Iyanu as well that was helped to shape what we see and what we've been experiencing all this year. So we've got a full room today, and they are definitely very excited to chat with you. And I'm going to bring everybody up, and they're going to begin to introduce themselves. So let's start with Kerri. Can you please tell us your contributions to Iyanu and just like a small bit about yourself?
Hey everyone, my name is Kerri Grant, and I'm a writer on Iyanu. I've been working in animation for over 20 years now at this point, starting with the Backyardigans, Doc McStuffins, Elena of Avalor, Nella Princess Knight. I was executive producer on Ada Twist Scientist, and I'm excited to be here with you all.
Okay, and then we can go to Matt.
Who has been an animation writer for over 20 years, a little bit over 20 years. I worked on Justice League. I worked on Ben 10. I wrote for Static Shock, which I thought was a great show. See, Brandon agrees. And I've bounced between action and comedy in preschool and done okay with all of it. So that's where I am. Really great to be here.
Thank you. And Ivory?
Hey, everybody. My name's Ivory. I'm a staff writer on Iyanu. I'm an animation writer. Haven't been in the game for 20 years, but I was with Kerri writing on Ada Twist Scientist. Also done stuff for Disney Junior, Kindergarten the Musical. Did some work on Horton on Netflix. And yeah, I'm going to be working on some other stuff that's coming up soon, which I can't talk about. Otherwise, a dart will fly on my neck. But yeah, happy to be here.
Right, then Brandon.
Hello, I'm Brandon Easton. I was the head writer for Iyanu. I broke into the industry on the 2011 Thundercats reboot at Warner Brothers Animation, worked on Marvel's Agent Carter as a result of the 2015 Disney ABC Writing Fellowship, and gotten to work on pretty much every great thing I've ever wanted to work on: Transformers, Judge Dredd, Superman, Batman, Vampire Hunter D, Overwatch, a bunch of really cool stuff. And it's great to be here. And I always say that, Kerri Grant has the greatest name in the history of mankind. I think about North by Northwell or Hitchcock movies. Kerri Grant, good God, that is an awesome name. And then Ivory, Ivory, man, that man makes me laugh, more than a lot of people, even more than Dave Chappelle, which is saying something,
Take that, Dave.
And I always talk, Matt Wayne, like the reason why I want, Matt, he worked on everything I ever cared about, seriously. And the Green Lantern show, which is criminally underrated, was awesome. And I always told him that, I really appreciated that. And then, of course, Roye, who hired me, I am an eternal gratitude for. So I just wanted to say hello to everybody. And also to you, Monique. Pleasure to meet you finally. And we should have some fun today.
Yes. And Roye?
Hey everybody, my name is Roye. I am the creator, executive producer, and showrunner on Iyanu. While I've not been writing for 20 years, I've been trying to get Iyanu made for 20 years, so that's something.
Okay, so we're going to kind of start with transitioning Iyanu or adapting Iyanu from the graphic novel to screen. So Brandon, like you mentioned, and we know, I've been learning, that you played a very key role in that adapting Iyanu Child of Wonder for television. But you've also had Roye there in the writer's room with you as you're going about this process. So can you speak to just what that experience was like doing this adaptation with the creator kind of right there closely with you?
Yeah, this project came across my desk when I was at Blizzard Entertainment working on Overwatch 2 and a bunch of other stuff. And I was immediately stunned by how incredibly well constructed it already was. So for me, it was like, oh my God, like I don't have to do a whole lot. There's obviously a lot of work that has to be done, but I didn't have to like break my neck or break my back to get this into a story. So having Roy there was like having George Lucas or Gene Roddenberry in a room with you if you're working on Star Wars or Star Trek, respectively. Because he understands things that I don't. I am not Nigerian. I mean, I am descended straight. I did a genetic test. I am descended from Yoruba Nigerians. Believe it or not. I showed the proof. But the thing was, I have never been to the African continent, unfortunately. So there are things I didn't know what jollof rice was. I didn't know what pounded yams and goat meat meant. I didn't know about the duality of some of the spirituality inherent in Nigerian old mythology, pre-colonization. Roy was a repository for all of that. So this is why it has such a reach and why it has such an impact, especially on the continent of Africa, where in 44 African countries, Iyanu is number one. Mm-hmm. There's a reason for that. There's a reason for it. So having Roy there and having these immensely ridiculously talented people in this chat right here, in this Zoom. I mean, every single one of these people in this room made the show what it is because of their talent. And you have to, if you're the head writer, you pick people who are really smart and sometimes smarter than you because you take the credit. And I'm just kidding. But ultimately, seriously, but no jokes, all jokes aside, working with these folks was incredible. And having Roy in the room was like, we didn't have to open up a dictionary or go online to Google and be like, well, what is jollof rice? Or what is this? What is that? Roy was like, yo, this is what we do. And sometimes he'd be like, look, I'm the Nigerian in the room. And I do this, and this is how it goes. But no, it was awesome because I learned things and it was really cool. So the bottom line is, one, having Roy there was incredible. But number two, having this group of immensely talented people, it made it like butter. As it would say in New York, it's like butter, butter on a toast, so it was just incredible. So that's my take on it.
No, thank you. Something that you really pointed out was just about how there was already so much there that existed from the source material, if you will. So I would like for us to talk a little bit too about just deciding also where to actually start with this series, because like the episode 11 is a movie, but it's a prequel and you guys possibly could have started there. So what was it like for you all just navigating the multiple timelines? And I would like to start with Ivory.
Yeah, I think it's I remember getting the document for Iyanu. I was getting my car washed and just my eyes were glued to the page because I was like, oh my God, the divine ones and like the people of the deep and like, oh man, Ikun spits lasers. This is awesome. And you get all that lore. And even in the first episode, you get kind of like, here's a quick primer on like where you are, what the corrupted are, why it's a problem. And then you instantly go to Iyanu. Because while all the lore is super fascinating for a show, none of that matters if you don't have a character to ground it in. And the first time you see Iyanu, she's out there, she's hunting with her bow, she's about to kill a deer, but then she sees that, oh, wait, it's a mother and child out there. It's a mother and child deer. And so she stops and instantly that tells you so much about the character. Mm-hmm. I kind of compare it to Miles Morales in Spider-Verse, where you have like all these spider people and like all this like action going on. It's all awesome, but none of that matters if you don't care about Miles. And it's the same thing with Iyanu. Like, all the timeline stuff, while it's super fascinating, first you have to like love Iyanu. And then as you go through the show, she's learning along with the audience, like what a divine one is, like what the people of the deep are. So yeah, it's just really important of like making sure that she's the star of the show.
Yeah, I was going to say, I mean, obviously, Ivory hit the nail on the head. The scene he's talking about, it's also on, I think, page 2 of the graphic novel, literally, the scene with the deer. I think a baby deer is a foal. Please, I mean, if I said it wrong, I'm sorry. Somebody correct me in the chat. But baby deer, let's just put it that way. But I think one of the things that Ivory said that is so on point is that I grew up loving things like Lord of the Rings, right? Such a massive world. But again, you care so much about Frodo. Right, like that's the thing that drives everything. Like the Lord, the Rings, all of that it's really cute. But it's really these characters we come to learn and love about that we care about. And with Iyanu, why that was so important is that you get to see in season 1 that she yearns for her mother, right? Like she's an orphan, even though Lori is the one raising her. Iyanu wants to know where she's from. She wants to know about her parents. So when she sees that deer that she's about to shoot and she sees the mother and the baby, it's sort of like a microcosm of her inner struggle that she sees. So yeah, I've always thought that was really a fascinating way to introduce the character. And it was one of the reasons why it was done so early in the graphic novel. And we took that as well and put that into so early, literally, I think it's the first 2 minutes of the pilot that happens as well. And you get to know immediately who this character is.
Yeah, Ivory, you mentioned that like first we have to get to know Iyanu and basically like fall in love with her and fall in love with all that's happening. And this question is just up for anybody. But when you're writing a fantasy series like Iyanu, how do you balance some of like the epic stakes of what's all that's happening with the intimate character journeys and also the pacing of the story, so we're not always like at a 10, and especially for like this audience age demographic too?
Anyone mind if I jump in on that?
Please.
Okay, well, the way you balance that is your character. Once, like Ivory and Roye were saying, once we're on the character's side, we see what Iyanu does, and we also see what the inners are like, and that she's kind of got a better sense of justice than them. But after that, all the epic stuff, you just make sure that you've got your characters reacting to it. That's the important thing. It's like the world blowing up doesn't matter unless there's people watching it, that are shocked. And you just see. And that's you can always see an ineptly made epic is when they have all these special effects and the world's going crazy and there's no time for it, and there's no stakes for anybody, and Marvel never does that. Okay, that's all I got.
Yeah, and I also think since we're following the story through Iyanu's perspective the entire time, so it's about her and it's about her journey, and like to kind of piggyback on what Matt was saying, she's responding, reacting to things, but making decisions, and so I think we're tracking the emotional resonance always of her story within the context of this world. So I think that makes it sort of, after a while, I think it just becomes like a feeling, it's time to check in with the characters. It's time to kind of get a sense of what's needed when, as the longer you do this, I think, or the more you do this, or the more it's just such an epic tale, such a heroine's journey, that it just feels kind of natural to deciding sort of where to have those character moments. Doesn't feel forced because you're following her story.
Want to go? Okay. Oh, sorry. No.
Oh, sorry. Just one little thing I wanted to add in too, like in terms of like pacing and stuff. I personally feel that comedy is also a very important way to kind of just like smooth things over. Because like you said, if everything's out of 10, then nothing's out of 10. So it's like, okay, we can have like big moment, and random fart joke. Just to like kind of like diffuse the situation and kind of like have like a reset for the audience as well.
Yeah. So what I'm thinking about too is just that knowing some of y'all credits from, like y'all mentioned Ada the Twist, and I saw like Ben 10 and heard Static Shock. I love Static Shock. So I'm curious as to how the Writers Room how it differs for Iyanu compared to some of your other children programming that you guys have worked on.
I think.
Go ahead.
I think that because of the type of show Iyanu is, it's serialized. A lot of shows I've worked on have been for a little bit of a younger audience. So the idea is that you can jump in on whatever episode. It doesn't matter. You don't have to know the story from the very beginning. For Iyanu, that was a completely different situation. So it was for an older age group. And it's a serialized story. So each of us had to be kind of in lockstep with each other. in terms of knowing what happens, before our episodes, what's going to happen after our episodes. And in that way, we had to work really closely together in beating out all the stories, breaking the stories, I don't know, I feel like we were like this unit moving together, you know what I mean? So, and that's how it is in some senses in other writers' rooms, because there is that group mind. It doesn't, it's such a collaborative process making a show. But on Iyanu, like I said, because of the serialized nature of it, we had to, I think we worked closer on this show than I've worked on other shows. Yeah.
A lot of writers' rooms where all anybody is doing is waiting for the other people to stop talking. And this is this was the opposite of that. We stayed as one and focused, and I think a lot of that had to do with Brendan's leadership of the room. He's a born story editor, and we all felt like we were getting what we needed to in it, and we all understood where we might go with it, and we all had stuff to pitch. It was great. Yeah.
Oh yeah, it's also it's fun being on a show where you can blow stuff up. Because I've worked on stuff for younger audiences, and coming in here, it's like, okay, and they can have a fight scene, but like no one's gonna get punched in the face. And Rory would be like, oh no, you can punch him in the face. I'm like, oh really? Okay, cool. Okay, so he's gonna headbutt him here, and he's gonna crack his face mask, and he's gonna be really mad about it. So it's a lot of fun letting loose with that, but at the same time, kind of like what we were talking about before, none of that matters if you don't care about the characters. So it was kind of us making sure that no matter how epic or big it gets, that it's about the characters first and the journeys that they're going through.
I think for go ahead, Brandon.
No, go.
Okay. I was going to say real quick that I think for me, it's like, this was my first writer's room, right? So I don't have anything directly to compare it with. But I think the important thing for me was that I think I've been spoiled, because I feel like this was such a synergetic writer's room. I think there was a lot of mutual respect for one another. And it didn't mean that we couldn't disagree. But I think one of the things that Brandon did in the beginning that was so helpful for everybody was like, look, we're all adults, and there's no disagreement we can't find a compromise, and there's nothing that we can't talk through. And I think that immediately gave everybody a sense of ownership, and also everybody a sense of like, okay, if I really do have something to say, especially for me, right, coming into my first writer's room, even though I was the creator, I was still the least experienced. But I think Brandon empowered every single person to be a leader individually in the room as well. And I think you can see that in the script, right? I think we were the first team chosen as writers. Like that's it's not a joke, actually. Like we were the first team chosen. And I think you can see it in the writing. The interaction between the characters stems from the interactions that we had between ourselves as writers. Like we had a lot of fun with each other. We had moments where it wasn't really fun, but we got through it. We had moments where somebody might not be having their best day, but everybody else picked them up. Brandon obviously took us for lunch to so many different places. He almost killed me in his car one day, driving at 100 miles an hour. But again, it's like just being able to be in a place where everybody respects each other and everybody has fun. I think it shines through the script. And again, I will say it again, everything that you see with the characters, I think that started off with the writers and how we all came together as Team Chosen.
I have a theory that food is the key to everything. No, really. It's that, my whole life, I mean, even growing up in Baltimore, I found that if you feed people correctly, a lot stems from that. I've been in rooms where the showrunners did not care what they ate, and they were eating twigs and berries. And it was like, you're ordering this for everyone? You're not even thinking that other people, I mean, I know that there are people who are vegan, who are pescatarian, who are whatever. And I try to find places that taste good. Number one, taste good, but also healthy. So that was kind of like my undercurrent of everything. And I think everybody kind of enjoyed that. I mean, maybe I'm speaking out of line, but we did eat in good places. And I feel that
we ate well. Yes.
If you treat people right, and people have satisfied palates, they will come back to the room and really contribute on the level that they should.
I will say, Brandon, every time I come back to LA, I still go to Dan Chinese because of you. So it works.
We do have some audience questions coming in. The first one is, did adapting from the graphic novel to TV allow for more in-depth relationship explorations between characters? Up for anybody.
Yeah. One a scene that I really liked writing, it's Kanfo versus Jaja, because in the book they fight, but like there's no dialogue in between them. And so one thing I pitched in the room, I was like, hey, what if we gave Jaja more of like a backstory? What if like he had a kid that he brought along with him on missions, but like the Esho killed him in a battle? And that's why he hates the Esho so much. So it was a lot of fun, like having that moment of him versus Kanfo, and Kanfo being like, well, why would you bring your kid to a fight? And Jaja being like, bro, you brought Toye to a fight. He's like right there. And it's a really nice moment where Kanfo sees like this dark version of what it can become, and also finally realizes like the mistake he made bringing Toye along. And it also sets up, because I love wrestling, it sets up like a future match between like Jaja and Kanfo, and now you have that rivalry, and now it's like a bit more personal.
Okay, I have a second question here. How did the real life people, like the strong women in Roye's life, influence the characterization of Iyanu and other characters like Bee, Alori, and others?
Yeah, I mean, it's a good question. I think I've said this in a lot of different interviews that, personally, I've been surrounded by strong women my entire life. My mother, my two older sisters, obviously my wife, even my 4-year-old now, she bosses me around pretty much every day. But there's a lot of characteristics and things that I've seen them go through, things that I've seen them come through. The way that they've responded to things that I, first of all, put in the graphic novel. And then I think one of the wonderful things was getting into the writer's room and then getting to work with someone like Kerri, right? Like Kerri sort of took it to another level where, one of the things that she first, I think, said, was that, we shouldn't be afraid to show women in a gamut of emotions, like, from being upset to being vulnerable to crying to yelling, like, give them a chance to express a full palette of who they can be. And speaking of even season 2, like Adura, I think is the perfect example of just how to write a female villain, because I feel like sometimes people are terrified, right? Like they don't want to make them too mean. They don't want to make them too nice. I think, but for us, like, especially like I think with Kerri's lead is that she was just like, just allow them to be. I think for me, like I said, that was one of the things that I was able to pull from my own personal experiences. But having someone like Kerri in the room, I think allowed me to really let myself go. And, I think all of us as well, and take these characters to another level. And you will find out that like just in every aspect of the story, like in almost every critical moment in Iyanu has something to do with either a female lead or as an antagonist or a protagonist. And that wasn't a fluke, right? For us, it was very intentional as well.
Yeah, Adora was one of my favorite characters to write because, like you said, the freedom to make her bad, was really fun. And the reason we could do that was because I think we had so many different types of characters. Like, I think a lot of times what happens is if you have the one female character, there's so much on her shoulders to represent for everybody that you want to be careful about how you show her, how you represent her. But in Iyanu, we had so many different, like, we ran the gamut in terms of personalities, just the spectrum of types of characters. So we were able to explore all of those emotions in different people, which was really fun.
Well,
yeah. And I would say also that it's nice to see a wide range of Black women's emotions. because we're stuck in this like Love and Hip Hop and Real Housewives kind of dynamic where black women are like villainized, and if you have an attitude or if you have a bad day. Where I felt like in Iyanu, you had everybody, folks in the workers district, you have folks on the Elu Messi, you have Iyanu, you have a Lori, you have a Dora, and it's just black show up, But the point is that black women are human beings.
Yeah.
And just saying that can be controversial in certain quarters, but the fact that this show is grounded in that concept. And it was never anything we had to argue about. It wasn't that, how would we do black women? No, it was like, these sisters are real. This is how they act. And we just made them fully human characters. And I think that, to me, was something that's unprecedented in animation in general, like across the board, where you have an Adora, you have a Lori, you have Mama Shoa, you have, Iyanu, you have the sisters over in the workers district who are building their own resistance to the Elu Messi. I mean, that was something I was so happy to do. And there's not something that we were like, we weren't consciously trying to like make a statement.
It was natural.
Based on organic, real human storytelling. And I think that's what, to me, mattered most,
Okay. Pile on to that just for a second. Just, a lot of the incidental characters that we'd come up with, we knew who they were. It was great that they were either in the graphic novel or a couple days later, Roye would come back and, okay, these are their names. And, like the guards, Siju and
Siju.
I mean, and, Balanle, who I adored, right?
Yeah.
And Alapane. It's like there's so much depth in this that just wasn't in other stuff. There was a lot of creative energy that was fantastic.
All right, I have one last question before it is the end of our time. I know I wish we could keep going. You guys are so much fun, and I've only known you for maybe 20 minutes. And so I hate that we will be parting ways soon. But this last question is, in a few words, how would you describe the show to someone who's never seen it in order to get them to watch?
In a few words, I would say it's a coming of age story. Obviously, it follows Iyanu, who is on a journey to discover who she is because she realizes she has powers that are that could rival the gods of her land. But like Ivory said, right, like all of the cool magic stuff is really awesome. But our show at the base level is really about empathy, right? That's what drives the entire thing. So I would say it's a show where a girl that has a lot of power has to have empathy for a lot of people, even the people that disagree with her, in order to tap into that power and save her world. That's really the crux of what Iyanu is.
All right.
I'll also say, like, if you're into big fantasy epics, like say like the Dragon Prince or like Avatar: The Last Airbender, and you're looking for something new, like you're looking for like a new lore to like really latch onto, Iyanu is perfect. And that's how I've been telling a lot of people who are like, oh yeah, I just finished like this show. I'm looking for something that like, is kind of the same vein. I'm like, oh yeah, watching Iyanu. And within 2 episodes, they're like, okay, is anything bad going to happen to Ikun? Because if it does, I'm going to get upset. And I'm like, no, I was the same way, man. He's awesome. Yeah.
I would say it's a classic coming of age tale, set within a world that we've never seen before. And in a lot of ways, it explores such primal themes like light versus dark, which I think is just at its core makes it epic. And with details, with like vivid and vibrant and beautiful details that exist within this world in terms of everything, the hair, costumes, food, colors, fighting styles, dancing styles. The pacing is amazing. It's great. Biased, obviously, but it is, that's what I would say about Iyanu.
I was like, if it was a little boy that I was trying to convince to watch it, I'd say, do you like fights?
That's a good one. Yeah. Yeah.
It's wonderful.
Shoot. Well, thank you all for taking the time today to talk about the Writers Room, to talk about your experiences, to spend time with us in the chat. And for those watching, don't go anywhere. There's still more stuff left. They're going to be coming up on the screen. You'll see me again. And thank you so much again for everybody.